Hey everyone, welcome to the 13th episode of First Edition, the all things comics, film, and pop culture web show. I'm your host George, and I've got a great show lined up for you today. First, in comics news, if you've ever fancied yourself working in the comic book industry, Mark Millar wants you. Comic creator extraordinaire Mark Millar is hosting a talent search on his website, Millarworld.com. He's looking for a few good artists and writers, 6 of each to be exact. Of those creators selected, they'll be asked to contribute to the Millarworld Annual that is forthcoming and will be released in the near future. The submission period runs from September 28th through November 30th of this year. Check his website, Millarworld.com, for full details, and good luck to everyone who's submitting. I know I'm working on mine and I can't wait to submit it too. The next topic on my news list is about Star Wars. With Star Wars fever in full force, fans everywhere are itching for Star Wars. Will fans of the original trilogy have another reason to celebrate, as it has been confirmed that a certain fan favorite character will return for The Force Awakens. If you guessed that the returning hero is the Mon Calamari hero, Admiral Akbar, you guessed right. Famously known for his line, "It's a trap," which is one of my favorite lines, and he's also one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars mythos. So I think the fact that so many of the original cast members are reprising their roles for the new films is really beyond awesome and makes me even more excited for the films, as well as I can imagine so many other fans of the original trilogy. To see who else might be appearing in the new films, check out Star Wars The Force Awakens, which debuts in US theaters December 18th of 2015. The next bit of news is sure to get Batman fans excited. If you love Frank Miller's comic book masterpieces, The Dark Knight Returns and The Dark Knight Strikes Again, then this is news you've been waiting for a long time, because the third installment is coming this year. Dark Knight 3: The Master Race debuts this November 25th of 2015. While details are still sparse, the series returns Frank Miller to the writer's seat, along with superstar writer Brian Azzarello and artists Andy Cooper and Klaus Janson. As a huge fan of these stories, I can't wait to see what happens next in this new gritty Elseworlds adventure featuring the aged Cape Crusader of the future. Look for this comic in November. Another surprising but exciting bit of news is that it was revealed that Zack Snyder and HBO have met to discuss a possible Watchmen TV series. For those unfamiliar with Watchmen, it is the landmark comic book series from the legendary writer-artist team of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. The book itself has a lot of mature themes and is definitely for mature audiences. This comic was actually adapted into film in 2009 by director Zack Snyder, so it's actually pretty interesting that there may be a series in the works too. Given the mature content of the comic, I can't wait to see what HBO does with this series. I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones, and I'm starting to get into their other series, and they have a real talent for developing mature films and mature material, so I'm really excited about that. So look for more information in the near future. Next on my news list is that if you've been begging for a Black Widow ongoing comic book series, your prayers have been answered. Coming in 2016, Black Widow will star in her own comic book series from the Star creative team of writer Mark Waid, artist Chris Samney, colorist Matt Wilson, and letterer Joe Carmagna. This is the Star creative team who recently breathed new life into the exemplary Daredevil run that they just concluded. As one of the fans who's really wanted her to have more of a presence in the comic book universe, especially given her elevated profile thanks to the Avengers films, I can say that I can't wait for this series, and given the creative talent behind the book, I think it's going to be a standout book for Marvel. Look for this series in 2016. And the last bit of news I wanted to share is the Anomalous Comics presents Send in the Clowns comic book anthology. It's finally been completed. I'm really proud of this. This book has my first published comic book work, a short story called Night of the Clowns. I collaborate with artist Mark Savona. There's inks by Michael Hickmott, coloring by Michael McElveen, and lettering by Chris Johnson. This anthology is full of stories by independent creators. It took a lot of work, basically a year's worth of work and then some. This book is full of a lot of great short horror stories featuring clowns, as you can guess by the cover art. So if you're interested in it, shoot me a comment below, let me know, and I'll get you the information you need if you're interested in possibly purchasing the book. And now for comic reviews. The first comic up for review is X-Men 92 number 4. This issue continues the colossal battle between the X-Men and Cassandra Nova and the X-Sentinel. This issue is written by Chris Sims and Chad Bowers, with illustrations from Scott Koblish, coloring by Matt Mila, and cover art by Pepe Larraz and Jim Charalpidis. If you enjoyed the 90s comic book series of yesteryear, you should definitely be picking up this book. This comic spins out of the Secret Wars universe-shattering event which revived the 90s era cartoon series in comic book form. Writers Sims and Bowers bring everything you loved about the cartoon to the comic. It's full of the snappy dialogue, over-the-top action, and emotional beats that fans of the show came to know and love. Koblish's illustrations, while detailed and exciting, also managed to evoke the bombastic animation style of the cartoon. The cover illustration by Larraz and Charalpidis was what really attracted me to this comic. I really thought it was incredible seeing Professor X facing off against the X-Sentinel. Another very cool aspect about this book is the inclusion of so many newer characters like Generation X and Bastion and even Cassandra Nova. It's cool seeing them included because they never made it into the cartoon. They were just on the fringes of when the cartoon was ending, and so it's really cool to see them in the comic interacting with the 90s era cartoon heroes. The only real gripe I can think of is maybe that some of the dialogue was a little bit over the top. Other than that, it was a really fun read. I didn't like the $4.99 price tag though. I thought it was kind of a lot. I think all of the Secret Wars books are toting the $4.99 price tag. But other than that, yeah, it was a lot of fun. If you're hungry for a return to the 90s era cartoon with a modern day flair, X-Men 92 is definitely worth a read. The next comic up for review is Image Comics' Starve number 4. Let me start by saying that Image Comics' Starve is definitely one of my favorite comic books of the year. If you would have told me a year ago that one of my favorite comics would be about a reality star chef, I probably would have laughed a little bit. That definitely sounds like something I wouldn't be too much into. But after reading the first and now the 4th issue of this series, I'm definitely sold. This is a great book and it's definitely something that I'm going to keep wanting to read. Starve number 4 continues the story of reality star and chef supreme Gavin Crookshank as he accepts an even greater culinary challenge. This issue is written by Brian Wood with interior and cover illustrations by Daniel Ziesel and coloring by Dave Stewart. Wood does an incredible job of not only crafting tragically flawed but really fascinating characters who feel like flesh and blood living people, but he also does an incredible job of crafting exciting story beats and challenges for the hero to overcome. These challenges really continue to bring an even higher level intensity to each subsequent issue. This issue in particular actually features a very visceral brawl as Gavin literally fights tooth and nail for kitchen supremacy. Ziesel beautifully renders this intense vision of a future where the pleasures of the 1% are all consuming. He also does a masterful job of illustrating the quieter moments, bringing the script and cover art to life in gritty detail. I really tried to think of any sort of complaint about this issue and comic, but the only thing I can think of is that I'm actually pissed that I'm really counting the days until the next issue comes out. It's that good. So Starve is a fantastic series. I'd highly recommend it to anyone, so if you see it on the shelf, you should definitely give it a chance. The next comic up for review is Archie Vs Predator number 4 of 4. The battle for Riverdale concludes in this final issue of Dark Horse and Archie Comics' crossover, Archie vs Predator number 4, as Archie and his friends make their last stand against the extraterrestrial terror, the Predator. It's do or die in this issue as the casualties continue to mount, and it's Archie, Betty, and Veronica making their last stand. This issue is written by Alex DeCampi, with interior art from Fernando Ruiz, inks by Rich Kozlowski, colors by Jason Millett, and cover art by Andrew Pepoy and Jason Millett. I really wish I'd picked up this comic from issue number 1. This book is a lot of fun, and it's actually a surprisingly gory read for being an Archie book. DeCampi does an exceptional job of infusing the humor we've come to know and expect from the Archie books with the graphic and mature themes of the Predator books. I especially enjoyed the dynamic between Betty and Veronica in this issue. Even when faced with a fate worse than death, their deep-rooted rivalry and friendship managed to shine through. It's a real highlight of this comic. Ruiz's illustrations, which are fashioned in the tried and true Archie style, are taken to a whole other level when we see the surprising level of bloodshed and gore in this comic. It really made reading this Archie comic a surprisingly unique but really fun experience. Pip-Boy and Millette's cover illustration of a defiant Betty and Veronica facing down the Predator was another selling point for me. Call me crazy, but I'm a sucker for heroes standing their ground when all else has failed. Overall, this comic was really a whole lot of fun, and I wish I'd started reading it sooner. There's an especially funny and interesting twist ending that I won't spoil for you, but you should definitely pick up the book. Archie fan or not, this comic is definitely worth checking out, so give it a chance if you see it on the shelf. And the final comic up for review is Justice League number 44. This issue is part 4 of the Darkseid War storyline, and this issue is basically an all-out free-for-all battle between the forces of Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor, with the Justice League stuck in the middle and with the universe at stake hanging in the balance. Having jumped in on chapter 4 of this storyline, I really wish I would have started reading from the beginning of this storyline to get the full scope of everything that has happened thus far. This issue, Johns crafts an exciting installment. This issue is basically non-stop action from start to finish. There's definitely a sense of universal calamity at hand as the heroes scramble to find an answer to the threat of the Anti-Monitor. What's also really impressive about this comic is how Johns manages to juggle so many characters, and with each character having their own unique voice. I thought that was really impressive, because there are a lot of characters and there's a lot going on in this issue. There's also an interesting exchange between Green Lantern and Batman, who's currently wielding the Mobius chair. It's altered him some. Harsh words exchange between Batman and the Green Lantern. I'd like to see if there's any lasting damage to what was said between the two, because this was a very interesting exchange that I really didn't see coming in the middle of this all-out war storyline. So it's really cool, and I'd like to see if they follow up on that. Fabok's illustrations are also a real highlight of this book. His illustrations are breathtaking. Every panel is packed with gorgeous detail. The battle scenes especially have a real kinetic feel to them. My only complaint is that DC, they didn't put a summary page in this issue. They seem to not be doing that very much. I'm not sure why. But for a new reader like myself who just jumped into this storyline in chapter 4, it would have been really nice to have a summary page to help catch me up. Other than that, Justice League number 44 was actually very exciting. It was full of shocking twists and unbelievable artwork and a shocking ending that I won't spoil for you here, but it's definitely worth picking up. So Justice League number 44, a great read overall. Well, that's it for this episode of First Edition, the All Things Comics, Film, and Pop Culture web show. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and comment. I want to thank you. I really appreciate your support, and I really hope you enjoy these shows. I really enjoy making them, so thank you again.
Wow.